There's a Freightliner dealership off the interstate outside Oklahoma City with 40 brand new Cascadias parked nose to tail, chrome still wrapped in plastic, and most of them haven't moved since last fall. Nobody's buying them. And no, there's no picket line out front and no petition going around. What's happening is quieter than a protest and a whole lot bigger. 3.5 million truck drivers in this country, over 900,000 of them with their own name on a truck loan, and an enormous number of them have looked at the most advanced trucks ever built and reached the same conclusion without ever holding a meeting. Not this truck, not this year. You can see the whole thing in one number. The average Class 8 tractor rolling down an American highway right now is 6.3 years old, the oldest the national fleet has been since 2013, according to ACT Research, the outfit that's been counting trucks for over 40 years. And fleets don't keep old iron around for the memories. Fleets run old trucks when the new truck stops making sense. So today I'm counting down the 8 reasons the new truck stopped making sense, starting with the ones the industry admits and ending with the ones nobody upstairs wants to say out loud. Stay for number 1, because the biggest truck ordering month in almost half a century just happened. And once you see what those orders really were, it proves the refusal better than any empty dealer lot ever could. One piece of arithmetic first, because nobody ever bought a Kenworth for the cup holders. A semi-truck exists to turn miles into a paycheck. Every gallon of diesel, every tire, every insurance bill, every truck payment gets spread across the miles that truck runs, and drivers call the total cost per mile. Freight that pays above that line feeds a family. Freight that pays below it just wears out a very expensive machine. Every reason on this list comes back to that one number. Reason number 8. The sticker wall. A new Class 8 sleeper truck, the kind an over-the-road owner-operator actually lives in, now starts around $170,000, and that's the stripped-down handshake price. When Overdrive magazine surveyed owner-operators about what they actually paid for late-model trucks, the average landed above $195,000, with plenty of men writing checks well past $200,000, and heavy-haul tractors with the big bunks and big power running $300,000. Then it got worse. In November of 2025, new tariffs on imported truck content kicked in, and buyers pricing new trucks started finding a surcharge of $9,500 or more, sitting on the quote in black and white, not negotiated, not optional. Now do what a trucker does and turn that price into a payment. Finance $170,000 over 5 years at the rates independent operators actually get, and the payment lands north of $3,000 a month before fuel, before insurance, before a single tire. That truck has to gross serious money every week just to cover its own existence, and that's before the driver earns a dime, which would still be survivable if the freight paid. The freight does not pay. Reason number 7. The freight recession nobody upstairs wants to name. Trucking is now in the 4th year of a freight downturn. Rates collapsed after the 2021 boom and never really got back up, while the cost of running a truck went the other direction entirely. The American Transportation Research Institute, the outfit that does the definitive cost study every year, just reported operating costs at another all-time record. Tolls up over 13% in a single year. Repair and maintenance up almost 9%. Tires, insurance, everything climbing faster than inflation while the money paid to haul the freight crawled. Put real numbers on it. Running a truck now costs around $2.26 per mile once you count the fuel, the payment, the rubber, the insurance, and the driver's own wage. And a lot of spot market freight doesn't pay much above that line at all. A man can run 2,500 miles in a week, deliver every load on time, do everything right, and take home less than the kid bagging groceries back in his hometown. There's a Freightliner dealership off the interstate outside Oklahoma City with 40 brand new Cascadias parked nose to tail, chrome still wrapped in plastic, and most of them haven't moved since last fall. Nobody's buying them. And no, there's no picket line out front and no petition going around. What's happening is quieter than a protest and a whole lot bigger. 3.5 million truck drivers in this country, over 900,000 of them with their own name on a truck loan, and an enormous number of them have looked at the most advanced trucks ever built and reached the same conclusion without ever holding a meeting. Not this truck, not this year. You can see the whole thing in one number. The average Class 8 tractor rolling down an American highway right now is 6.3. Quick pause. If this channel earns a spot in your week, hit subscribe because I cover the working end of trucking, farming, and old iron every single week, and the next 5 reasons are the ones the brochure never mentions. Because price and rates only explain why drivers are hesitating. They don't explain why drivers are refusing. For that, you have to go under the hood, and you have to go back about 20 years. Reason number 6, the emissions rap sheet. The distrust of new trucks wasn't born in 2026, it was earned, one breakdown at a time, over 2 decades. In 2004, federal emissions rules brought exhaust gas recirculation to diesel engines, and mechanics watched motors start cooking themselves with their own soot. In 2007 came the diesel particulate filter, a trap in the exhaust that catches soot and burns it off in a cycle called a regen, which means a truck that periodically stops doing its job to clean its own tailpipe. In 2010 came diesel exhaust fluid, an entire second fluid system with its own tank, its own pump, its own sensors, and its own catalog of ways to fail. And I'll say the part some of you won't like because I'd rather be straight than popular. Those systems were added for a reason, and the air behind a modern truck really is cleaner than what came out of a 1999 stack. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But ask any driver what those systems cost him and he won't quote a dollar figure. He'll tell you about a $60 exhaust sensor that got moody outside Cheyenne on a Sunday night and dropped a 500 horsepower truck into limp mode, crawling the shoulder at 5 miles an hour with somebody else's freight in the box. He'll tell you about 9 days in a plastic chair at a dealership outside Amarillo, waiting on one back-ordered part while the payment, the insurance, and the grocery money kept burning. The trade magazines have printed versions of that story for 15 years, and they all rhyme. On one of these trucks, a check engine light comes with a countdown clock attached, and the clock is counting down a man's savings. Reason number 5, downtime bleeds you twice. This is the math nobody outside the industry ever sees. A truck in a service bay costs you 2 ways at once. First comes the repair bill, which on modern after-treatment hardware can run 5 figures. Then comes the second wound, the miles the truck didn't run while it sat, which was the money meant to pay for everything else. 7 days in a bay can wipe out a month of margin, and 2 of those in 1 quarter can zero out the whole year. So when a driver sizes up a truck, he isn't asking how quiet the cab is. He's asking whether this truck will load Monday morning. A 2015 Cummins with 800,000 miles has answered that question 800,000 times. A brand new truck wearing the most complicated emission system ever bolted to a diesel can only answer, "Ask me in 2 years." And a man whose mortgage rides on Monday doesn't hand over $200,000 for "Ask me in 2 years." Now here's where the list turns, because the next 3 reasons are the ones the sales brochure will never print. And the first one is sitting right there on the dashboard, pointed at the seat. Reason number 4. The new truck watches the driver. Climb into a new Cascadia or a new Kenworth and look at the dash. On plenty of fleet specs, there's a camera mounted up there and it faces inward at the man driving. A telematics box reports every hard brake, every idle minute, every mile per gallon to a computer in an office the driver will never see. These trucks were engineered for mega carriers that buy 5,000 at a time and want every employee graded by the minute. And maybe that makes sense for a fleet manager. It lands different on a man who bought the truck with his own money. He's the owner, and his own property treats him like a suspect. Older drivers feel that one in the gut because they remember when the cab was the last place in America where nobody looked over a working man's shoulder. And the camera is only half of it, because what they did to the engine software is worse. Reason number 3, you can't fix it in your own yard anymore. For 50 years, the deal was simple. A trucker with a toolbox and a service manual could keep his own machine alive, and when a job got too big, the independent diesel shop in town handled the rest. The new trucks broke that deal. The engine software is locked down so tight that good independent shops often can't touch it, so the truck goes back to the dealer, at dealer rates, on the dealer's schedule, and some of those service lines run 2 weeks deep. Features ride on software now, and software gets updated, monitored, and billed. Own a machine like that and you'll discover you really bought a subscription with a steering wheel. The mega fleets negotiate factory warranties and get bays open for them by Wednesday morning, while the one truck operator pays retail at every step and waits his turn. So the money walks somewhere else instead, to the one corner of the market where the old deal still holds. Reason number 2. The used truck sweet spot is simply too good. When Overdrive surveyed owner-operators about which trucks they actually trust, the answers pointed at one very specific machine, the 2019 to 2021 model years. New enough for the good fuel economy, old enough that the emissions bugs got worked out, sitting at 350 to 500,000 miles on engines built to run a million. Every used truck dealer in the country knows it. A clean 2020 or 2021 sleeper runs somewhere between $65,000 and $75,000 right now, against $170,000 to $200,000 for new, the widest gap between a fresh truck and a proven one in over a decade. For the price of one new Cascadia, a man can buy a good used Peterbilt, insure it, stack a repair fund deep enough to survive anything the road throws at him, and still have money left over. And this summer, the market said it out loud. The average retail price of a used Class 8 truck climbed 5% in a single month and topped $61,000, in a season when prices normally go flat. Trucks with faded hoods and 500,000 miles are gaining value, because a proven machine now sells for more respect than an unproven one. Any man who ever farmed with his father's tractor understands why. It just took the truck market a $200,000 sticker to catch up, which leaves the biggest reason of all, the one with a date circled on the calendar. Reason number 1, January 1st, 2027. On that date, a new federal emissions rule takes effect for heavy-duty diesel engines, the strictest nitrogen oxide standard in the history of the program, cutting allowable NOx by more than 80% compared to today's trucks. Cummins, PACCAR, and Detroit Diesel have spent billions engineering their way to compliance, and that bill lands where every bill in this industry lands, on the truck. Estimates for what a 2027 compliant tractor will cost over a 2026 run from $8,000 on the optimistic end to $25,000 on the realistic one. More hardware and more sensors bolted onto the exact technology drivers already trust the least, and every gray-haired driver knows the pattern in his bones. Year 1 of every new emission system has been its worst year for reliability. They lived it in 2007 and again in 2010. And nobody with his own name on the lone volunteers to be the guinea pig twice. Then Washington poured uncertainty on top. All through 2025 and into this year, the government kept sending mixed signals about whether the rule would soften, whether the warranty requirements would survive, whether the framework might get rewritten in the spring. So a buyer standing in a dealership today can't get a straight answer on what the next truck will cost, what its warranty will cover, or what his current truck will be worth once the rules shake out. A trucker will forgive a lot of things, but he will not sign a six-figure note against a question mark. Call it stubbornness if you want. A banker would call it underwriting. Now watch what the industry did with that knowledge, because this is the twist I promised, and it's my favorite number in the whole story. In February of 2026, Class 8 truck orders exploded. Out of 530 months of records, 44 years of counting, ACT Research ranked it among the 8 strongest ordering months ever measured. Hold on. Didn't I just spend 15 minutes telling you nobody's buying trucks? Look closer at what they bought. Those were 2026 build slots. Fleets weren't rushing toward the new technology. They were grabbing the last trucks built before it arrives. The industry calls it a pre-buy. I call it the refusal notarized. Thousands of companies studied the cleanest, most advanced truck this industry has ever offered and paid full price, on a deadline, for anything but that. When the customers of an entire industry spend a premium to dodge your next product, that's not a market anymore. That's a jury coming back. So who wins in all this? Because somebody always does. The manufacturers win on the pre-buy, selling out 2026 production to buyers fleeing 2027. The dealers win twice, once on the sale and again in the service bays, because a national fleet averaging 6.3 years old needs parts and wrenches like never before, with repair costs climbing almost 9% a year. The mega carriers win quietly too, because 5,000 trucks can absorb a $25,000 bump and negotiate warranties the little guy will never see. Every round of this game raises the table stakes, and every round a few thousand more independents cash out and go drive for somebody else. The rules are written for the smokestack, but the bill always finds the smallest mailbox. It has every single time. Now, if you're sitting in this game yourself, or your son is, or the kid down the road who just got his authority is. The numbers point 4 directions and none of them are complicated. Keep a paid-off truck that runs. A $15,000 in-frame rebuild on a tractor with no payment book beats a $3,000 monthly note 7 days a week, and the strongest fleets in the country just proved it by running the oldest equipment in a decade. If you have to buy the proven years, and let a 5,000 truck carrier find the bugs in the 2027 technology. They can afford the tow bills. Never sign for a truck the freight can't carry. Know your cost per mile before the ink dries, not after. Because if the payment only works when rates are booming, you're gambling on the weather. And whatever you drive, drive it because you chose it. A good Class 8 truck is still the finest tool a working man can own. It'll run 1,000,000 miles, take a rebuild in the middle, and put kids through school the whole way. The drivers saying no in 2026 are guarding the oldest arrangement in this business. The one where enough miles behind one good machine add up to an independence no company can repossess. The factories lost sight of that. The men in the seats never did. So, talk to me in the comments, because this crowd has more seat time than any analyst I can quote. How many miles are on your truck right now? And what's the one repair that almost made you park it for good? And if your outfit grabbed one of those 2026 build slots this February, tell me why, because I want that story from the inside. I read every single comment, and half my videos start down there. If this one earned its keep, subscribe, because next time we're covering the used truck years you should never buy, the model years that look like bargains on the auction block and empty a man's savings by spring, because knowing what to avoid is worth more than knowing what to want. Those 40 Cascadias are still parked outside Oklahoma City, plastic still on the chrome. The trucks actually paying America's bills this morning have rock chips in the hood and gray in the driver's beard. And both of them are sitting exactly where the men who ran the numbers decided they should be.